I went out trekking with a friend a few months ago. We decided to stop at a summit for a snack and to snap some pictures while we were about 6 miles into an 8-mile loop that we regularly complete. We live in the mountains of western Maryland. There was a parking lot with park seats and tables along this section of the walk. While we were seated and conversing, I caught sight of a solitary man ambling through the parking lot. He was staring at his feet and pacing in circles. What perplexed me was that he wasn't exactly dressed for hiking. He was wearing pants and a button-down shirt. We made the decision to start the final 2 miles of the loop. This section is cut out of the mountain bank and descends the hill to the park headquarters. Our car is at the parking lot at the end of that leg. You have to walk in single file and have limited vision from the trail. While talking to my pal, I was strolling forward. When I turned to face her, I observed that same man trailing her at an uncomfortably close distance. I experienced a sickening feeling right away. I saw that he was missing his footwear and had no trekking or pack gear. I was definitely creeped out by something in his gaze. He walked for a little while longer, still following extremely closely. In case he was following closely only to go quicker than we were, I told my friend that I had to tie my shoe as an excuse to get off the trail and let him pass us. We halted when she realized what I was doing right away. He murmured a courteous hello, appeared surprised, and then just stared. It was at this point that I saw he was holding a stick. She's in the way as I'm adjusting my shoe. He moves ahead of us. He slows down as soon as we wait to give him some space ahead of us. After a little more waiting, he reaches the farthest point of the trail, at which point he turns around and simply looks up at us. We decided we didn't want to have to pass this person again because something about him felt way too off. Thus, we made a U-turn and headed back up the trail toward the park where the picnic tables and parking area were located. After a few minutes of going up the trail, I turned to see him following behind me. Now he's following us once more. I give my friend some speed tips. We make our way up the trail and arrive at the parking lot from earlier. We decide to wait and begin planning our next move, hoping he will retrace his steps. Since there were people nearby, we felt much more secure waiting it out. 20 minutes or so pass with nothing. We are discussing how that might indicate that he continued on the trail and is now long gone, or that he is waiting on a more desolate section of the trail. From the trail, where we were probably taking the circle in the opposite direction, we see a couple approaching. Asking if they had seen anyone on the route between this lot and the next, we come up to them. They report that they observed a young man seated on a rock approximately halfway down. They then go on to tell us about the man who was really pursuing us. We tell the wife about our interaction with him and have a back and forth discussion about whether or not he posed a threat. Finally, the spouse replies, "We need to call a ranger." He wasn't just sitting there. He had a knife and was carving a stick. We definitely called that ranger. After ensuring we arrived at our car securely, the pleasant couple walked the final leg with us and gave us their phone numbers in case we needed anything. After that, the rangers strolled along the trail, but they saw nothing of him. Though I'm happy to know that my suspicions were correct, I still wish I knew where he went and what happened to him. So, let's avoid crossing paths again, spooky knife-wielding man in the woods. This whole thing still seems paranormal to me after all these years, and I wasn't sure where to put it. Since I'm not sure how to interpret it, I'm publishing it in hopes of hearing other people's opinions. In an odd accident, my dad drowned when I was 9 months old. He was assisting friends who had lost a canoe that was submerged in the river. He was ensnared by the undercurrent, and his whereabouts were lost forever. A few days later, they located him a few miles down the river. 20 years later, my best friend and his fiancée, along with me, are going camping. It's been a stunning summer evening in the Pacific Northwest. It was mostly dark, around 9:30 p.m. My brother and I took a little stroll to an overhanging rock with a wonderful view of the river. We drank beer, smoked up some cigarettes, and had a conversation. After 2 minutes, I noticed my dad standing there and glaring at me from the other side of the riverbank. Although I don't recall ever meeting him, I do recall seeing images of him. He had a striking resemblance to my father in his final years. I asked my pal whether he was witnessing the scenario after hitting him, but he wasn't. My dad breaks the stare and moves to his left, a good 20 feet down the river and a bit back into the trees, just as a sort of spotlight blasts him. He begins removing a rope and a few items from a cash bag. I am trembling and pallid right now. I'm not reacting and staring into the darkness, which worries my pal. Well, what the heck was I seeing? My dad was working on something with his back to me on the opposite side of the riverbank, which had been transformed into a stage and lit up. When he eventually turns around, he is holding a noose. He tosses it over a branch of a tree, slips it around his neck, says nothing at all, and hangs himself while still staring at me. For the remainder of the night, we experienced strange encounters, but nothing like it. Even at 41 years old, I still don't fully understand this event. I was genuinely disturbed by it, and I can't stop wondering if he actually drowned or if I was just told that. As a young adult, I came very near to suicide many times, but never by hanging. Was that someone else, or was my dad revealing to me a secret? Undoubtedly, this has been an unusual one.